During the 2020 Democratic primaries, Bernie Sanders said that he believes prisoners should be able to vote. He said, "I think the right to vote is inherent to our democracy. Yes, even for terrible people. Because once you start chipping away, you're running down a slippery slope." News organizations and even politicians started slamming Bernie Sanders. Mike Pence said that he thinks violent convicted felons, murderers, and terrorists should never be given the right to vote in prison. Not now, not ever. Now, you may be thinking that prisoners shouldn't be able to vote. There was even a poll done, and it showed that around 69% of people, believe that prisoners should definitely not be able to vote. So why am I making this video? Well, the answer is simple. I believe prisoners should be able to vote. Not only that, I think that every prisoner who is a citizen of the United States should be able to vote, unconditionally. I do have some reasons as to why I believe the prisoners should be able to vote. You may disagree with my reasons, but they are all I've got. Number 1, the Electoral College. That's weird, right? Why would I be talking about the Electoral College when it comes to prisoners voting? Well, it's actually because they count. If you are a prisoner of a specific state, then you are counted towards the census. That means if you're a prisoner during the census, then you count towards the population of that state, potentially increasing the amount of Electoral College votes for that state while not being able to vote. As of 2021, Texas had the most prisoners with 157,584 out of the entire population of Texas being at 29 million. Now, 157,000 does not sound like a giant number, but that would be enough to change the Electoral College number to give Texans an additional Electoral College vote. Texas has a rate of 530 prisoners per 100,000 people. Louisiana has 728 prisoners per 100,000 people. That would suggest that Louisiana could have an even higher chance of gaining Electoral College votes because of this flaw in the system. Number 2 is victimless crimes. In 2012, 86% of all crimes in the United States were considered victimless crimes. You may be wondering what victimless crimes are. Well, I'm glad you asked. Basically, a victimless crime is considered drug-related. Drug-related crimes make up around 50.7% of the prison population. There are also public order offenses that make up an additional 35% of prisoners. This is also considered a victimless crime. And public order offenses, according to the article that I'm reading, is anything other than drugs that don't have a victim. So selling lemonade without a license, weapon charges, public drunkenness, immigration, feeding the homeless without a permit, etc. Mike Pence is very worried that violent criminals would be able to vote in prison because he believes no prisoner should be able to vote. But they only make up 7.9% of the population. That's a very small percentage of the prison population, and I believe that to disenfranchise 87% of the population because of violent criminals is very bad form. If you're doing the math at home, the other 6% or so is just made up of property damage. Number 3, felon disenfranchisement. In most states, when you are a felon, after you have served your time, you are able to vote once you are out of prison. There are a handful of states that do not allow you to vote, even if you've served your time. One such state is Florida. In 2018, the voters passed a bill that stated felons who were released from prison should have their voting rights restored. Lawmakers in Florida were resistant to change, though. The lawmakers have started putting roadblocks that would cause them to not be able to vote. They are making it so that even though ex-felons should be able to vote according to the bill that was passed, those lawmakers are passing laws stating that people who owe fines to the court are unable to vote and thus get removed from the voter rolls. We would not have this problem if we just allowed people to vote whether they were in prison or not. And number 4, How many people does it hurt? If we allow prisoners to vote, how many people is it going to hurt? My answer is 0. Allowing a prisoner the right to vote does not hurt anyone. But how many people does it help? The second thing I always think of is how many people is it going to help? If we count every prisoner, it would help 2.3 million people. When you look at it that way, I think it's hard to disagree with my side of the argument. What are the arguments I've heard against letting people vote? I've only heard one argument. Now, maybe you viewers have better arguments, and if you want to post them, put them in the comment section below. Here is the singular argument I have heard. They did something wrong and need to be taken out of society. And that argument falls apart when you look at the prison population. 50.7% of people in the prison population of the United States are there because of drug-related crimes, victimless crimes. Why are they in prison? They are in prison because of the war on drugs. In 2016, a Nixon official came out and said the real reason for the war on drugs. Richard Nixon started the war on drugs to criminalize black people and hippies. See, when you're a politician who is a bad politician, like Richard Nixon, there are a lot of people who aren't going to vote for you. Well, you can try to appeal to those voters, hoping that you can win them over with charisma and understanding of their points of view. But we must remember that Nixon was a bad president. So if you're a bad president, what do? You create laws that criminalize people who would vote against you. See, Nixon knew that if hippies were behind bars, they couldn't vote for him, and black people didn't like him either. So he made laws specifically targeting those group of people so that he could win election easier. Do you see why the argument of they do bad thing is a bad argument? It falls apart instantly when you throw even the smallest amount of logic at it. Now, these are the reasons why I believe prisoners should be able to vote. Please, feel free to have a discussion in the comment section about this, but I will warn you that if there's insults being hurled, I will just delete the comment and move on with my day. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you later.
What the hell was that?